Amen. I'm going to read from 2 Corinthians 7:1, and if you would just remain standing for the reading of the word. 2 Corinthians 7, verse 1. And so 2 Corinthians, just make sure you are in the second book, 2 Corinthians, and it's chapter 7. And I'm going to read from the Amplified Bible today. I figure since it's just one verse, y'all won't mind it being a little long. The Amplified Bible, I tend to favor the Amplified, especially when I first came into ministry. If you look back on the old sermons, I read from the Amplified Bible a lot. And then I moved to NASB and NIV primarily, but I'm gravitating back to the Amplified Bible. 2 Corinthians 7:1 says, "Therefore, since we have these great and wonderful promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, completing holiness, living a consecrated life, a life set apart for God's purpose in the fear of God." May God add a blessing to the reading of His Word. You may have your seats. Last week, if you were present or if you had the opportunity to watch and review the last week's video, which we thank our videographer, Raven, so profusely for being on top of every week, getting our not only recording but also editing our videos and posting them on our YouTube and in our Agape room and group. For those of us that were not present and are not present, we thank you. And if you had the opportunity to watch that video, you will recall that we talked about the fact that anything that you put in your body will eventually come out of your body. Yes. And not so much the things that we eat and put in via eating and drinking, but more so the things in which we put in via our ears and our eyes. And we talked about the fact that there are programs happening around us, and there is programming happening in pretty much anything that we watch and we see. We talked about music, we talked about television, we talked about the fact that the news will only show you what the news wants you to see, and you will be swayed in one direction or the other based on what and how the news presents a story to you. And we talked about that in some length. But I want to talk today about detoxing from the world.
All right.
The Apostle Paul wrote to the church in Corinth saying, "Let us cleanse ourselves from everything that contaminates both the body and the spirit." The dictionary defines detoxification as the process of removing a toxic substance or quality.
That's right.
In other words, Paul is saying, let us detox ourselves from anything and everything that contaminates us both physically and spiritually.
Okay.
We live in a world where it is impossible not to take in toxins. Absolutely impossible. The air that you breathe is full of toxins.
That's right.
The emissions, think about it for a minute, the emissions from vehicles that pass by, that goes into the air and it goes into our lungs. You ever seen a chemical factory and you'll see them, you pass right, go over the bridge and you'll see the billows of smoke. That's just not smoke, that's not steam going into the air, that's chemical.
That's right.
It's a byproduct of whatever they are processing in the plant. It's coming out and it's going into our air. More so than even that. If you have ever seen a plane go across the sky and then it has a white tail behind it, that's not the emissions of a plane going by.
That's right.
That is what's called a chemtrail. In other words, it is shooting poison into our atmosphere.
That's right.
And we breathe it. because we have no choice. It's impossible to get rid of toxins or not to take in any toxins. The water that we drink is full of toxins and chemicals. Have you ever researched the water purification system here in Savannah? Or any city for that matter. Any city for that matter. They purify the water that leaves your home. And it's a very extensive process, and it takes loads of chemicals in order to purify it. You just do a Google search and put in that Google search, put reclaimed water. And it's going to list you off all of the chemicals that is used to reclaim water. Right. And this reclamation process removes all of the bacteria, and it removes anything that is fecal matter and that sort of thing. And let me just show you. I got this directly off the city's website. It says, and it's talking about the water once it has gone through the treatment process. So this is not before, this is after it's come through the treatment process. It says, while it isn't clean to the same level as drinking water, watch this now, Savannah's reclaimed water is 7 times cleaner than the standards for where shellfish are harvested. We're going to go back to that. 11 times cleaner. This is the reclaimed water. It's 7 times cleaner than where shellfish are harvested, 11 times cleaner than the state standard for reclaimed water, and 100 times cleaner than standards for swimming water. Well, what are they saying? What are they testing for is my question. But when I looked that up, what they were testing for, they're testing for fecal matter, fecal bacteria. Drinking water should have 0%. The reclaimed water has a percent in it. It, however, is 7 times less than where shellfish are, and 11 times less than the state standard for what it should be, and 100 times less than a swimming pool. It goes on to say that the reclaimed water is then put into the Savannah River. So it doesn't cycle into our drink. I said, oh, okay, it doesn't cycle into our drinking water. And then I looked and I said, got curious. I said, well, where does the drinking water come from?
All right. All right.
The Savannah River. So it just goes into the and so we take in toxins all the time, and it's almost impossible to avoid these toxins. The food that we eat. You know, I have a friend, she has cancer, and she's in Atlanta right now, so we've been writing back and forth. It's just a little bit, feels a little bit more close when you actually pen a letter versus an email. She has email and Facebook and all that too, but her and I on this stint, this is her second stint in Atlanta, where she has to actually go through an intensive treatment. We decided, let's write a couple letters back and forth just to kind of, feel a little bit closer. And so I received a letter from her yesterday, and she said in her letter that she must avoid crowds. Her immune system is low. So she said, I have to avoid crowds, and I also have to avoid fresh fruits and vegetables. She's not allowed to eat fresh fruits and vegetables because of the fact that there's so much on fresh fruits and vegetables. If you know, they recall fresh fruits and vegetables a lot for E. coli and various things, and also not even to mention the pesticides that they spray on our fresh fruits and vegetables, not to mention the wax that they put on and the silicone spray that they put on some of our fresh fruits and vegetables, not to mention the color that they sometimes put onto our fresh fruits and vegetables, not to mention the growth injections that sometimes they pump into the roots of our fresh fruits and vegetables. See, when we get into this thing, it's very hard to eliminate toxins from our bodies because they're putting toxins in everything that we come across and everything. Even when we think we're doing the right thing, we still are susceptible to eating toxins and to taking these things into our body. And all these things are toxic, and I'm not even going to talk about meat today.
All right.
I preached a sermon and I talked about, a few years ago, I talked about kosher meat, and I talked about halal meat, which is basically a process of killing and raising animals and then killing them for food. And it's the biblical, kosher meat is the biblical standard that God set forth on how we are to raise and then kill our food. And so we ended up, I preached a sermon on it, and I even talked about, and I showed a video of regular meat that they serve us in the grocery store, that you see your ground beef and what it looks like. And I took a package of the ground beef from the regular section, then I took a package of the ground beef from the kosher section, and you can literally see the difference in the color between the two.
That's right.
Because the meat from the kosher section was raised right, number one, and then it was killed properly, number two. And so it had a whole different color to it than what they give us to eat. And so I'm not going to talk about that today, but if you wanted to look it up, it is on a sermon, it's on YouTube. The toxins in our meat don't just come from the injections that they may give them. They also come from the stress that the animal endures. You know that every time you endure stress, think about it for a second, stress builds up in your muscles. That's why when you are tense, you oh man, I'm tense, I got muscle, you got muscle spasms, and somebody will come along, and then you go to the massage therapist, or maybe you have a somebody in your family, your spouse is good at massage, and they'll work that tension muscle out, they'll work that knot out of your muscle. What that is the stress is accumulating, it's a hormone that's accumulating in your muscles, causing it to knot up. But all that is a stress hormone, and so when you knead it out, it then releases it, and after a good massage, you should drink tons of water, because all it does is it releases the toxin from the muscle, and then you should drink lots of water so that you can then flush out the toxin from your body, all right, so it doesn't resettle into your body. These are all things that we know through science and through the doctors and through just general knowledge. But then we kill an animal, and the animal has the same type of stress, and then we eat it and wonder why we stress. Toxins. We hit it hard last Sunday talking mostly about the toxins of the media and everything, but I didn't give you all a solution. I let you leave out of here, and I said, man, we taking in so much stuff, and it's horrible, and then we all agreed, we sure are, pastor, and we left up out of here, and then we went on back to the same way that we was doing things every day. Amen? How many people didn't? How many people made a change last week? Made a change last week? That's good. Kinda, right? All right. A couple out of a few, all right. Yeah. I laid out the problem, but I didn't give you a solution. But I have a solution now, because as soon as I got home, I'll tell you what happened. As soon as I got home, I heard the Lord knock on me and said, you gave him a problem, but you didn't give him a solution. And I said, well, I told him don't take in no foolishness, to stop listening to craziness. I told him watch out for what they was listening to. I told them, I'm arguing with God at this point. Please, not yes. I'm going through the house, and God said you didn't give him a real solution. You didn't really put nothing out there for nobody to grab onto, And I'm like, well, what do you pose, God? And God said, detox. Erica's been into this thing lately. This is her thing. This naturopathy, and we've been talking about it. And she puts me on detoxes here and there. And she's always saying we got to detox, and this has become a thing. Have everybody seen it? You've seen detox tea. You've seen detox foot pads. You've seen detox waist training. Everything is a detox, and we understand the concept that what you put it on your body, that it's supposed to draw out any type of impurity. When you drink the tea, it's supposed to flush through your body and your cells and your blood, and that's supposed to flush out any toxin that has built up. And we understand that that's good. We need that. How many people don't think you need a detox? Based on even the things that I just talked about, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the food that we take in, you know that there's some chemicals that have built up in your bloodstream. That's the reason that you're feeling a little lethargic. That's the reason that you have some issues medically. That's the reason that you might not feel so good. My grandma used to call it peaking. It's a reason that sometimes you feel a little peaking. You're not really sick, but you just don't feel good because of the toxins that are building up in your body. Let me tell y'all something. As God began to roll this out for me, I said, this is very doable. It's very necessary that we should do as a church. And for those that are really serious, though, not everybody's going to do this. I get it. But for those that really want to change their lives, Because you have two aspects of a detox. You have a physical detox, which will make your body good, which will take away the physical toxins. But then there's also a such thing as a spiritual detox. And I'm going to tell you, if you do those two things hand in hand, you will literally change your life. See, there's one thing to just cleanse out the physical, but then you still got all the mental and the spiritual going on. It's one thing to cleanse out the spiritual and the mental, and you cleanse that out, but your body is still sick. But when you do a detox of the complete body, the whole body, when you do a detox of not only, just like Paul said, he said, remove and cleanse from yourself everything that contaminates the body and the spirit. When you cleanse your body and your spirit, man, you will change your life. And I'm calling for a full 28-day detox to change your life. A spiritual detox and a physical detox. The scripture says we are to cleanse ourselves, and the beautiful thing is the body and the spirit are both built. They are designed to actually heal themselves. Your body knows how to heal itself. How do I know? And I'll take it for an example. How many people ever fell down and cut themselves? Did you have to do something to cause your body to heal itself? And I'm not talking about a big cut where you had to get some stitches or staples. I'm talking about a regular scrape where it removed the skin and you were bleeding. You didn't have to do anything. Now you did something, you cleaned it out a little bit, and you left it alone, but after that the body took over. The body came along and it clotted up the blood, and it created a scab on the top of it. Underneath the scab, it started to create new skin, and then once the new skin was created, the scab then was able to fall off, and then the new skin, after that scab fell off, it began to blend in. It may have left a scar, it may have not, but if you put a little ointment or something on it, chances are you don't even see that anymore. Because the body has the ability to heal itself. The spirit is the exact same way, but the difference is, and this is where the key is, you have to give it an opportunity to do it.
All right.
See, if you fall down and you hurt yourself, you scrape your arm and you have a scar on it, or you have a cut on it, and right before it clots, you scrape at it again, and it's open again. And then right before it clots, you scrape it again. And you never give it the opportunity. You always picking at it. You never give it an opportunity to actually heal itself. It will always be hurt. And so the thing is, giving it time, relaxing, just giving it, resting off of it, so that the body has enough time to heal itself, so that the spirit has enough time to heal itself. I'm not saying you got to let go of everything for the rest of your life. 28 days. 28 days. It takes 28 days? It takes 28 days to form a habit. That is a known fact. You go to a psychologist and ask them how many days it takes to form a habit. They're going to tell you 28 days to form a habit. 28 days to change your life. A spiritual detox, a physical detox. The key is giving your spirit and your body the rest from its toxins. If you want something different, you have to do something different. I told you last week, take your power back. Well, now I'm challenging you this week to get on board and put that talk with your walk. It's easy to say, yes, I'm taking my power back, and then we don't do nothing with it. But we gonna not only talk taking power back, but we gonna walk taking power back.
Come on, Pastor. All right.
This year, I'm taking my power back. I'm challenging you to walk this talk. Give this month to God.
All right.
This month to God. And I'm going to show y'all something. I'm going to show you how God works, because I heard this from God last week. You know, I heard the sermon about the prior week. I heard that from God the week before. And God said, we're taking in too much foolishness. And then he said, we're programming ourselves with too much foolishness. And that's when I got that whole sermon. And then when I came home the next day, I told y'all on Sunday, after I preached it, God tapped me on the shoulder again and said, we got to do something about this. And I said, all right, God, well, what you want me to do? Detox. And I said, all right, we'll roll it up on Sunday. But let me show you this. Today is the first day of the Hebrew month of Elul. I'm going to show you something. And this is the year 5778. It is the first day of the last month of the spiritual year. What do I mean by that? The spiritual year, not the year of the Gregorian calendar, the spiritual year. God himself, you go back into the Old Testament in Genesis, God designed a calendar. God has a calendar. It is called the Hebrew calendar. God designed it. He said, here are your months. And he gave them names. Here are your days of the week. And he gave them names. Here is the calendar I want you to go by. And the calendar will be marked by certain times of the moon cycle. Alright, so it was on this day, the first day of the month of Elul, that Moses ascended up the mountain of Sinai for the second time, for another 40 days, to get the second set of tablets from God. If you remember in the story, Moses had come down real happy. He had gone up and he had been with God on Mount Sinai, and he had gotten the 10 Commandments, and God had talked to him for a little while. This is right after they came out of the wilderness. And he had talked to God, and he came back all happy, and he was like, look y'all, look what God gave me. And then when he came, they were worshiping an idol. Y'all remember that? And Moses got so mad. He's like, what? I left y'all for a couple of days, and this is what y'all doing? Y'all have melted down your gold, and you made a calf. That's it. He broke the tablets right there in front of the children of Israel. God chastised Moses, like, Moses, go back up the mountain, spend some more time with me. We're going to make a second set of tablets. It was on this day that he did that.
That's right.
According to Jewish tradition, this is the month of God's divine favor. And they say this is a good time to fix up the things we failed at during the past year.
Wow.
Today. Starts today.
Wow.
Today. The day that God said to go ahead and start rolling out this month of a 28-day fast. This is God's calendar. These are the days he set aside. See, and eventually they came along, the Romans came along, and they said, well, we don't want to go by the phases of the moon, we want to go by the phases of the sun. Why? Because they worship the sun. See, the sun had their chief god is called Apollo. And Apollo, the sun god, was the god that they wanted to honor. And so they set out their own calendar going by the rotation around the sun. And then they called the days of the week, they named those after their gods. And so today is called Sunday. Why? Because it is to honor the sun. Tomorrow is called Monday. Why? Because it is to honor the moon, and so on and so forth. And so y'all know Thor, what you think Thursday is? That's Thursday, all right? And so we've caught on to this. The Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar are solar calendars. They didn't come into existence. The Julian calendar came into existence about 50 years before Jesus was born. And then the Gregorian calendar came into existence around 1500 AD, like year 1500. And so now we are still in the Gregorian calendar, but the Jews still celebrate and go by the lunar calendar. That's why we still know what is what and when is when. And according to the lunar calendar, God's calendar, today is the last month of the year 5778. On September 9th at sundown, that we will cross over into a spiritual new year. And it will no longer be the year 5778, it will be the year 5779. This is God's timing. And so I am asking for a 28-day fast starting tomorrow, a 28-day fast that lasts until right before the turn of the spiritual new year. So September 8th, well, after church, September 9th, after church, we are going to roll out and have a food service, and they're going to fix us some food, and we're going to eat. And everybody like, but we're going to eat on that day, and we're going to break the fast at that point. In God's calendar, we are going to honor this last month, because there's something spiritual that happens when we go by God's calendar. Right after that, you will see the turning, and then the year changes, and then right after that, we see the turning of all of these Jewish holy days. Not just Jewish, these are the holy days that God He designed them. You go in your own Bible and read about them. They're right there. We are at the last of the year. I know it's not the last of our year, but it's the last of God's year. And we're going into a new year. Let us finish off this year the right way. I was looking this thing up. If we can, if the ushers will do me a favor and start passing out the paper. I wrote out some guidelines. It's not as bad as you're thinking. I thought about something. I said in God's calendar, the only day set aside for anyone. So we done set aside Sunday is for the sun, Monday is for the moon, you know. The only day set aside for anyone is the Sabbath. God set the Sabbath day aside, and it's for us. All the other Jewish days are called 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then he calls one day rest. And that day, this is the creator of the universe, y'all. The creator of the universe did not name even one day for himself and didn't take one day to honor himself. He took one day out of 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th to honor us. Would it be too much for us to take 1 month to honor him? Won't you give God this month? If you're serious about making this change, I really want you, and this is not to segregate or to separate anyone, but if you are serious, I want you to come forward because I want to pray with those of you. You see in the guidelines, this is called an intermittent fast. An intermittent fast. So this is not a fast that is, you will not be able to eat for the entire 28-day time. This is an intermittent fast, which means there will be times of a rest from your fast. So you will fast during the daylight hours, but during the nighttime hours, you will be able to live, to do whatever, eat whatever you want, and all of that good stuff. It's an intermittent fast. You don't do it the whole time. You do it every day. It's the same. You wake up in the morning. If you wake up before the sunrise, you can have you some breakfast. So that means get up earlier. What am I going to do? Pray, read your word, have you a little breakfast. You can have your little coffee if you want. For those of us that need in the morning, if it's before the sunrise, get your coffee in. Get your coffee in. I was praying about how to get your coffee. Yeah, get your coffee in. If it's before the sunrise, you go to work and you do what you need to do. Sunrise, yeah, whatever time the sun, it changes every day. So whatever time sunrise, all right, I'm fasting. I'm fast mode now. I'm in serious mode. I'm focusing on God. I'm giving away everything. I'm pushing everything that's not godly out of my life. Sundown, the sun begins to set. Go ahead and get you on the stove and get to fixing your dinner. As the sun is setting, you can be cooking. As soon as the sun sets, go ahead and eat. Eat. Watch a television show. What I'm going to do, Pastor, you going to make me miss out my television show. Tape them, and then when the sun goes down, press play. While you eat. That's why it's an intermittent fast. That takes it so we can do it longer. That takes it so we can actually be consecrated in it. You're going to give up something. You're going to give up during those daylight hours. You're going to be giving up something. You're going to be concentrating on God. You're going to be going to God saying, God, I need you on this because I'm getting hungry now, God. Or I need you on this because I'm having withdrawals from this caffeine today, God. I need you on this for those of us that smoke. Lord God, I'm having a nicotine attack today right now, God. So I need you. You're going to be praying. You're going to be focusing and leaning on it because you can't do it without it. But for 28 days, just for 28 days, I'm telling you about to change your life. Because you're eliminating any negativity that will go into your mind, into your eyes, into your ears. You're eliminating that stuff. It's amazing. And once you start actually taking it out, it's going to amaze you exactly how much of it you've been taking in. People that are meaning you no good, people that all they got to say is something negative. Amen. Go ahead, cut them off. Go ahead, delete their number. Because for this 28 days, let them know, hey, for this 28 days, I can't deal with your foolishness. Sorry. I'm fasting. So for the 28 days, I can't deal with it. I'm focused on the Lord today. We got nothing positive to say. Unfollow. They got something on Facebook now that says take a break.
Yeah, it does.
It says take a break. For the people up on your timeline. We taking away Facebook anyway because we spend too much time on Facebook and the negativity go on there. Don't mean you can't get on your messenger, your friends and all of that. Continue to talk to your friends. Continue to text people and call people. How you doing today? That's what this is for. Encourage one another. A good idea would be to buddy up with somebody. Partner up with somebody. You doing the fast, look around, see who's doing it with you. Hey, you doing it too? Cool. Because we're going to encourage one another. If I feel weak, I'm calling you. I'm letting you know, hey, I see a Twinkie. And hey, I'm going to tell you, that you going to show up on the job on Monday, I promise you they're going to bring donuts. I promise you going to be some free food. They're going to say, guess what? We have a luncheon today. And it's going to be some free food. Because that's what the devil's going to try to do to tempt you. So that's your opportunity to find you a buddy. Hey, they done brought free food to the job today. What am I doing? Make a plate and take it home. We're going to change our lives, y'all.
Yes.
We're going to change our lives. There's people in this church, and y'all may not know it already, but that's been doing intermittent fasting for their physical health, and it is amazing what's happening in their physical health. Everybody's not here today, but we're going to put this out for everybody, the whole church, to participate if they want to. Amen. And so we're going to ask as soon as Raven gets the video up tomorrow, we're going to blast it. We're going to tell them, hey, get on board with this. If there's somebody in your life that don't have to go to this church, that you think would benefit from this, share this with them. Let them know, listen, I'm doing a church fast with my church. And if you want to get involved and change your life, send them over the little rules. Hey, here it is. This is the layout for it. There's some suggestions. You don't have to do, everybody might not do it as strenuous as you. Some people might do a full fast the entire 28 days. Some people might say, you know what, I'm going to eliminate, I'm going to do when it's non-fasting, I'm going to do a Daniel fast. So I'm going to eliminate certain things. I did put on there to eliminate shellfish from the, as a suggestion to eliminate shellfish. Why? And pork. Why? Because them bottom feeders, what it say? That they said in that thing, that the drinking water that came from your toilet after it was purified is 7 times cleaner than the water that them shrimp swimming in. That's what it said. Go to the website. It's 7 times cleaner. So if you wouldn't take you a scoop of that water, then why are you gonna eat something that's been living in it? I don't know. That's a suggestion. That's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. It's a thought. Hey, you ain't got to do it. It's a suggestion. That's a suggestion. Amen. Just for 28 days. Just for 28 days.
Clean the truck. Get all that out. Get a hot water. That's it.
Let's pray. For this 28 days, God, we ask that you be with us. God, we want to change our lives. God, your word said in 2 Corinthians 7:1 that we are to remove all impurities from both our bodies and our spirits. And so at this point, God, we are making a commitment that as the sun rises tomorrow morning, that we get serious about this fast and honoring you. Let us focus on you. Let us do something different than we haven't done before. For we know that the results that we will get are life-changing. God, we ask that the toxins of our mind be eliminated, the toxins of our bodies be eliminated, Lord God. The things that we have heard even about ourselves, God, that they be eliminated. I thank you, God, that we will be removed from negativity. That we will be separated from anything or anybody that will put anything negative in us. And give us the strength, God, to walk away from this 28-day time frame. Walk away from anybody that would want to put anything bad into us, God. Especially into our minds, especially into our spirits. For the mind is going to control this. It will be through our minds that we succeed, through your spirit guiding us to success. God, I thank you that at the end of this 28 days that we will be changed. We will be new. That we will give our bodies and our minds rest. That we will be rejuvenated and restored. I thank you. I thank you for the willing hearts that stand before me today. I thank you for my own willing heart, Lord God, that we get serious, that we take this serious. And God, we know that you will be so faithful to honor this. As you have honored sacrifice, and you have honored fasting, you have honored these things for so many people in the past. And God, we thank you. We thank you that they're examples that we follow it. Especially that of Jesus Christ himself, who did not take it lightly when he went to the mountaintop for 30 days, fasting to consecrate himself for your service. So I thank you for him, his blood, and for the sacrifice that we make to change our lives. And God, I pray this and all other things in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you in this one. Amen. We're going to do this.